Hey everyone, GeForce41 here with another PGA Tour 2K23 design tip video. This is a follow-up to my video on Treelines. This is Treelines Part 2. This is going to be more of a how-to video than the first video. The first one was kind of demonstrate the concepts type video. I like doing those. I've done a couple of those. I saw some expert designs by Arctic Fury and B101 and um, who else? Matt F. and Mayday, of course, and looked how they utilize trees in their design. So I promised you a little bit more kind of a how-to type video in that one, and what I said I was going to do was go to my work in progress and do a little bit work here. So I'm on the fourth tee of my work in progress. It's a links course, tentatively named Carthwick. Um, if you can see here, it's just a little unfinished. We might need a little work out on the left side, right? I like the open look. It's a links course by the ocean. So there's not a lot of trees. So I've struggled with this one. I'm also way up on the meter. I'm at like 93%, 94%. The right side, not too bad, but let's take a look at the right side. The problem I had with this course, the trees a little too small. They weren't taking enough space. I'm at a meter. I can't add a whole lot of trees. So I've had to make a lot of the trees bigger, and we can show you that in a moment. But if you look off to the right side, you've kind of got this uneven tree line on the right. Up close, it's kind of, blah. And then off in the distance, there's that gap for no reason. And there's some trees down in the distance there. You can see if you move up. There's nothing exciting about this. Is it bad? No. Is it great? No. So let's do something with it, okay? Um, let's get moving. Okay, so as you can see, the fourth hole is a medium length par 3. The view cuts across the fifth hole, which is a pretty cool par 5. And then the view, it's kind of obstructed here. 14 and 15 are out this way. I put a little farm kind of thing here, just to take up some space more than anything. And so there's a gap there. So let's work on this right side. So over here, here's the rest of the course. There's some trees over here. Again, there's a pond over there just to take up space more than anything. And I just resized all these trees. You can see here, now you can see these trees are much smaller. I left these small just so you can see the difference of what I was doing. The trees were more like this size, and as you can imagine, that was not taking up a whole lot of space. So I kind of right-sized them a little bit. So we've got to go around and make these a little bigger, make them fit in, right? Because if you look at that, that just doesn't work. But that's the kind of thing I see all the time in some newer designers courses. The tree sizes don't make sense. It's not uniform. It's not appropriate for the type of tree. Now the types of trees are all different, right? So I'm sorry, the sizes are all different given the types of trees. So it's just something you have to be cognizant of is all I'm trying to impart on you, okay? Try not to touch them, right? Because they're not going to be touching in real life. Sync it in that one too. Okay, so I'm not going to do that for the duration of this video because no one will be watching within the next 2 or 3 minutes. But what I did want to address is the main thing is what was wrong with that view, mainly that gap, right? There was not there for a reason. That's just a total oops. So I'm going to move one of these over in the sake of time. Fill the gap a little, okay? And again, we need these appropriately sized. So I'm going to go back here, make sure those are about the same. Okay, so we know what we're dealing with, and then we can adjust accordingly. But I'm going to move that up a little, right, to kind of bring that tree line in a little and curve around the corner. Okay, I'm going to need another tree, I think just like that, or these will work. Now, obviously you could build a little tree farm and do all that funny stuff. Sorry about that. Quick edit. I'm back, folks. Sorry, the little technical difficulties in the menus are very, very slow. Once I'm on PlayStation and 2, because that meter is way up there. I think that has something to do with it. But I just went in and selected one of the elms here. I'm going to put that right in the middle of that little plateau, and that will fill the gap. And then we'll get a little perspective from a distance. Whoops. I'm going to put one more over here just in case we need it. You can see, look at that meter. I'm at 93. Everything else is way up there. Okay. Pardon me while I get out of here. You'll see how slow it is. So now look, that was a little better. It fills the gap, but it does not look good. If you watched the last video, that tree line does not really look at all. It just doesn't look good, right? It just doesn't follow any of those principles I was talking about. And again, you got to be cognizant of, we're going to see this in the fifth hole too, okay? And we'll maybe do a quick jaunt around the fifth hole. So that needs to be, I think, a little smaller. And that one in front of it on the right needs to be a little bigger. We'll start to get that effect that we were talking about. And again, you know, so we're talking about the tree line moving kind of down, you know, guiding your view down towards the fairway, etc. It doesn't have to be a perfect line or a perfect diagonal, but it just has to make a little bit of sense. This just looks very sloppy. That was the word I was looking for. So move this over, slide that in there, right? And we'll start to get that look that we were talking about. And again, it also should, you know, fit the terrain. If it's a hill, it's going to go up this way and down this way. You know, it doesn't all have to go down at a diagonal to the fairway like I was talking about in the previous video. It can go up the hill, down the hill, etc. But this should kind of be the high point here. Or even this tree could be the, if you look at this, this could be the high point. Maybe it should be. So again, it's a little trial and error, right? So I think that does make more sense. At least I'm going to touch, I got to move the other one. But you see how you kind of have to do a little trial and error, little thinking, little adjusting, and it takes a lot of time. Now you could do it very quickly, or you could go through these things meticulously. I'm going over this in a little bit of detail just for the video. You know, I'd probably just be whipping through it, but I'm trying to talk at the same time. Again, you don't really want these touching, so I'm going to move that other one. But that's what kind of happens. You move one, shift one, you got to move and shift the others until it all makes sense. You got to find it. So hopefully this isn't too laborious for you. But do you see the concept here? Now it goes up the hill a little, right? So that makes a little bit more sense. Okay. Now it's going to go down the hill a little. So this one needs to be maybe pulled up. Maybe made a little bigger. And really these trees are just kind of framing that farm, which is there mainly to take up space, to be honest with you. This was a very stream of consciousness type course. So there wasn't a ton of planning on what's going to be in the surrounds of the course. And kind of paid the price for that because I'm running out of meter, and the things that I wanted to do, I can't. So I wanted to do a town around the side, and maybe even some housing down here. The other thing I thought of take up space was another course that wasn't, you know, quite playable, just put holes in there. And that didn't quite work. That would just take too long at this point. And I want to get this course done and released. So, okay. Let's take another look at this. Now go back and get the perspective. You don't have to go out of the designer. Okay, that looks a little different than when we started the video, right? There's still a gap there, though. So I like that idea of going up and then down. So it goes up. There's a gap. So that top of the hill, All right, we're going to have to move this. Because there's that gap, right? So that really has to be there. So move that front and center right there. And again, pardon me for the slowness of it, but I promised a little to-do tutorial. I'll try to edit it where I can. Speed it up. If I can figure out how to do that with the editor. But if you watch the previous video, you'll understand what I'm doing. Again, it's just a matter of having your course not look sloppy, having your eye line, your tree line, focus your eyes on the prize, so to speak, not take away from your design to enhance the look and feel of the course rather than being distracting. So really it's to focus your eye line along the fairway and along the rest of the course. That's all covered in the first video. But there you can see I'm getting there a little bit. This one's a little too big, but you see how tedious this is? And why this might not be the most exciting video ever, I wanted to stress that point to you. You really do have to kind of go tree by tree, really think about how they're fitting in there, right? So that looks a little bit better. And again, you might want to change the tree that you're using if it doesn't look right. I might decide that later, make that a little bit bigger. I'm not going to do that for you here because it's just going to take too long, okay? Okay, but that looks better, right, than when we first started the video. I think I can tweak that even more. I think what we actually might need is something in that gap down along this way over here, to put something right over there, right? So, okay, look at it from the 5th. I'm also going to go test and look at it from the 5th. I'm not going to spend too much time in the video doing that. Now we're going to move these a little bit. Move this guy up. Is it going up? You want to shrink it a little. But there you go. Now you see how that tree line starts to take formation. Okay, I'm going to move these a little bit. We're going to cut the sound here and cut the video, and then come back when I'm done. Okay, we're back. So I adjusted a few of the trees on the right, and now you see the result. Now take a look. Does that look better than when we first started the video? I think so, right? Is it the greatest looking tree line ever? No, I might tweak it a little bit. But at least you've got a little bit of continuity there, a little realism. So like I said, you see where it goes. It kind of starts down on that far right side, goes up that little hill a little bit, and then heads down towards the water. I think I got to shrink that tree at the end a little bit, maybe put another one at the very end. It'd be really cool. But you can see those concepts I talked about in the first video. That wasn't there when we started the video, right? And that was just kind of randomly laying trees down. I used copy and paste for a lot of this. So like I said, copy and paste does not work very well for a good looking tree line. It's going to fill the land, but it's not going to work. So that was a little laborious. Hopefully it wasn't too boring on the right side, but you see the difference, okay? If you think through those concepts. Now look at the left side. So that's the right side. Is it too open? I don't know. Judgment call, right? Those two trees in the distance are for effect on the holes way up there. We might need something just off to the left side of the tee box here. It's going to depend on the other hole. But let's take a look at that. Okay. All right, so back in the designer, does it make sense to put something off on the left? Well, if you look over here, it's the 9th hole. So you got to think, is it going to make sense to have a tree going up the length of the 9th hole? Again, this is a links-based course. It's not in any specific location. It's just totally made up. I'm not sure it makes a ton of sense. It might be able to stick one right there. Or even to the side of the tee box here. You can see my little burn going through the course, and the work I did on retaining walls, which I usually don't do, which took forever and 3 days, and it took a lot of meter, but that goes through pretty much the whole length of the course. You put one off to the side here, you might not see it. So I might try one right there. And let's see what happens. Okay, so here's this funky looking pine I've been using. Sure, is that gonna work right there? Again, let's talk about getting the size right. That one might work. Let's see if there's another one. This little pine right here might be okay. This is where the artistic talent of the designer comes in, and I have little to no artistic talent, so it's another reason this takes me a while. I like that one. So let's see how that looks right there. Again, we got to get this size right. And of course, now we want to look from this angle. How's it going to look from the 9th hole? So we'll try that. Again, we don't have much meter, so I'm trying to be cognizant of that. If I'm doing that, it's going to make a lot of sense to put one on this side too. Now I can change this later. Now don't forget to spin it, make it a little different size in that one so it doesn't look like the exact same thing. That's in my making planting look natural video. And then you got to think, how's that going to look from other points, looking back from 18. That might make sense. That might be okay. So we're going to do 2 there. Okay. So something simple like that might just change the look and feel. Alright, let's go back in and see what happens. Alright, a little better, huh? That kind of takes up a little bit of space. I could add maybe a little something, maybe some bushes off in front of it, in the front left there, at the end of the tee box. Again, I might have a second tee box where all that will be in view. Maybe some tall grass just like off on the right there, and that might add a nice little touch. Won't take up too much of the meter, but that's a nice little addition. Again, we can look at those other small trees in the distance. They're in there mainly for effect on the other holes, but again, I can even tweak that a little bit to make it more consistent with the other tree line on the right, because they look a little small. We'll take a quick look at that and wrap it up. Okay, so let's go take a peek at the trees in the way distance there. That one's there backing the 8th hole. We can definitely make that one a little bit bigger. And you don't make it too big. Again, make sure if you have crowds, I have crowds to make them tee ready for casuals. You want, if people are going to be around, that make sure that they're sized correctly. Because if you have a huge tree next to people and crowds, it's going to look absurd. I think that should be fine. That's fairly sizable for that type of tree at this point. If you look at just the flags, which are about the size of a person, so it's going to be a pretty decent sized tree. But I think it'll be fine. These could be maybe a little bigger as well. Now this one is backing 16. We have a little hill here. Just needed a little something when you're on the 16th green. That was really there for the effect on off the green on 16. So can we make that a little bit bigger? Sure. Again, a small tree is very effective. Sometimes it depends on the type of course. You know, this being predominantly a links course, it was a little hard to include trees, but it's just too bare without them. And kind of sometimes you see some pines and things like that. Now I'm going to go up here and compare it to this guy. You don't want it too unrealistic, but you don't want it too barren and, you know, just your eyes, too much negative space, as folks call it. Again, you're going to look at this off the 8th tee. So is that going to make sense? You can see the burn going through the rest of the course. The retaining walls. So this needs to be bigger to go along with those. And that's coming off. That's looking back from 16. And again, we want to just keep that perspective in a distance. So again, not the most exciting stuff, but designing in general is not the most exciting thing in the world. It takes a lot of time. That we've talked about that. So again, this cluster is there just to kind of fill up some space, make that hill look interesting. The routing was loosely based on Dundonald, to be honest with you. And then I just kind of ad-libbed. Alright, so those look a little bit more realistic, a little bit more in line with the trees on the right. I might have overdone it. I'm going to adjust them, cut the sound, adjust them, and then we'll be back. Okay, so there it is, a quick finished product. I still might tweak this, of course, but now take a look at this. Compare this to what we looked at in the beginning. If I get really fancy, I'll try to do a split screen and put it up there, compare, contrast. I'm not that good with the editor, but the video editor yet. But I can put all cute lines and things in there, right? Like I'll do now, lines and arrows. But look at the difference, right? Those trees on the far left look much better. Put one tree into the left to frame this shot a little bit better, take up some of that dead space. And that tree line on the right looks much, much better. Still could touch up around the tee box just a tad with the grass and the bushes to look at even better. I might do that later, but I think that shot looks much better than it did when it started. So again, those concepts of, you know, making sure that tree line looks neat and realistic and not sloppy, using it to frame your shot. Making that tree line kind of go up and down appropriately. So we did that here. We went up the hill, down the hill. Resizing the trees to look appropriate and not uneven, right? So we did that in the distance. Those trees on the far left looked disproportionate, as did some of the trees on the right. And like I told you, I had to rescale all the trees. So that's a little bit better look and feel than we started with, and that was the goal here. Took me about, I don't know, 20 minutes to a half hour. But there you see the, it's about 170 yards, the par 3, fourth hole. Gonna play into the wind. That should be the predominant wind, should be in your face here. So it's a neat little par 4. You see I do have some crowds here, but hopefully this was helpful. let's see how close I can come. Not close at all. I'm going to duck hook one right into the bunkers, which, if you saw my video on links bunkers, hopefully these came out okay. But that's it. So hopefully this is helpful. I think I might do another quick one on copy and paste specifically. I don't want to go on and on in this video. This one was meant to be quick to the point and just a working kind of video. You can see some of the grass work I did. Again, that was making your planting look natural video. So there you go. I've hit all three. Links, bunkers, tree lines, and making your planting look natural. All in one shot. How about that? All right. Well, thanks for joining. Bye for now. We'll talk soon. There's the 5th hole. Looks pretty good from there, too. Might tweak that a little, too. Thanks for joining. Bye.